Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is part 2 of my Met Gala series. So today we're going to be really deep diving into the Met Galas of the 80s. We have already looked at the 70s, so do feel free to go back through my channel and watch that video. So starting off strong with 1980. So during the 1980s, Pac-Man was in the arcades, Cabbage Patch Kids were popular, MTV grey star screens for the first time, and kids really kind of started hanging out in malls a lot more. And December the 9th we had the Met Gala, which was the Manchu Dragon, costumes of China, with co-chair Pat Buckley. Guests to this Met Gala included Yves Saint Laurent and magazine editor Francois de Langlade, Diana Vreeland, who was wearing Yves Saint Laurent. We had Andy Warhol, actress Raquel Welch, and actress Danielle Moreira, and designer Mary McFadden. I don't really find any notes about this gala either. So moving right on to 1981, and earlier on in the year we did have the marriage of Diana and Charles, so this event was kind of more so the second event of the year. And other notable events include the invention of the post-it note. And then December the 7th we had the Met Gala, which was the 18th century woman, with co-chair Pat Buckley, and it was sponsored by Mel Norman Cosmetics. The blurb on UAL said, "The 18th century woman, what made her unique and how does she differ from women at other times? Women have always been aware of the power and their femininity, but never has womanly while being applied with such grace, subtlety and ultimate success as it was during the 18th century, with her hips expanded by panniers, waist made smaller by corsets and breasts pushed up high above a low décolletage. The 18th century woman appeared supremely feminine, submissive, dependent, defenceless. She was, however, a torso cloaked in silks, ruffles, fringes, artificial flowers and laces. Beyond herself, the woman of the 18th century went on to spin a web that included her surroundings. By degrees, she softened and shaped her environment. She made her apartments, salons and boudoirs and their furnishings an extension of herself, scaled to her size and decorated to her taste. So persuasive was the charm and grace of the atmosphere she created that men became willing compliments to her in appearance, manners and movements. On easy terms with men, the 18th century woman won their respects, and through artful manoeuvres and calculated coquetries became a profound influence on the politics, economics and aesthetics of her era. In our exhibition, the beautiful costumes of opulent brocades, luxurious satins and delicate taffetas, along with their exquisite trimmings, helped to provide us with an insight into the silken strategy with which remarkable 18th century women moulded their century in their own image. Guests to this gala included Bianca Jagger and Halston, Diana Ross and Marissa Berenson. In 1982, E.T. was in cinemas and Thriller by Michael Jackson was set to become the best-selling album of all time. December the 6th, the theme was La Belle Époque, co-chair Pat Buckley. The sponsor was an Italian designer by the name of Pierre Cardin, and the little blurb on UAL states, La Belle Époque emerged in the last half of the 19th century from the dream and the reality of grandiose plans of Napoleon III and Baron Haussmann for the transformation of Paris. Philippe Julien, in his essay, defines the dates of the period as 1900 to 1914, but I feel very strongly that its spirit began to develop much earlier, and it is its spirit that we are in search of. And guests to this gala included Sandra Rhodes, Barbara Walters, Marissa Berenson and Raquel Welch wearing Thierry Mugler. 1983, Return of the Jedi had been released, and we had the first woman in space, Sally Kay Ride. And then December the 5th, 1983 was Yves Saint Laurent, 25 years of design, with co-chair Pat Buckley. The sponsor was Gustav Zumsteg, who was an art collector from what I could see. And a little article that I found from New York Times said that usually the museum prints 2,000 of these tickets and sells them up to the day of the event. This time 2,500 were printed and they were gone almost a week ago. The museum estimates that some 75 requests for dinner tickets had to be refused and 700 for the later reception. This is a sign of the drawing power of the designer, who is widely known by his initials. And then the little blurb on UAL stated, on Wednesday, December 14th, a major retrospective exhibition covering 25 years of design by Yves Saint Laurent will open in Metropolitan Museum's Costume Institute. The exhibition of more than 150 costumes, both couture and theatrical, created by Saint Laurent, since the establishment of his own couture house in 1962 will also include highlights from the collections he designed for the House of Dior from 1957 to 1960. Many of the costumes come from the Costume Institute's own extensive collection of Yves Saint Laurent designs, and there are major loans from Mr. Saint Laurent's personal archives and public and private collections in Europe and the United States. Paintings from the Metropolitan Museum's collection will augment the exhibition. And guests to this exhibition included actress Marielle Hemingway, actress Catherine Deneuve, actress Brooke Shields, Caroline Herrera, and socialite Nan Kemper. So in 1984, MTV had launched the first VMAs. Ghostbusters and Miami Vice were playing in cinemas, and Purple Rain by Prince was topping the charts. And December 3rd, we had the exhibition Man and Horse. Again, co-chair Pat Buckley and sponsored by Ralph Lauren, with the blurb on UAL stating, the Metropolitan Museum's December 1984 Costume Institute exhibition, which will be presented by Polo/Ralph Lauren, will be a celebration of man's long association with the horse. Titled Man and the Horse, the exhibition will present an outstanding selection of clothing, riding equipments, paintings and sculptures for the museum's own collections, as well as public and private collections elsewhere in the United States and Europe. So guests to this exhibition included Ralph and Ricky Lauren, actress and singer Bernadette Peters, and Bob Mackie, and fashion director Candy Price and executive Chuck Price. 1985, Back to the Future had been released, and Madonna had started her Virgin Tour, and Wham and Duran Duran was now topping the charts. And December the 9th, we had costumes of Royal India. Again, co-chair Pat Buckley and sponsor Christian, I think it's Human Foundation. The blurb once again stating, the riches of the fabled courts of India are come to the Metropolitan Museum of Art's Costume Institute. This year's exhibition, the 14th Annual Costume Institute exhibition, to be organised by Diana Vreeland. Special consultant to the Costume Institute is Costumes of Royal India. It will present a lavish selection of gorgeous and elaborate state and court costumes from 12 of the most important former princely states of India, among them Baroda, Hyderabad, Jaipur, Jodhpur and Kashmir. Also included will be a selection of saris from the states of South India, including Mysore and Travancore. Most of the court costumes and textiles in the exhibition date from the 19th and early 20th centuries and have been lent from private collections of some of the former ruling families of India. The exhibition will also include accessories, fans, turbans, footwear, jewellery, furniture, bolsters and other luxurious furnishings of court life, and full-length royal portraits. So guests to this gala once again included Cher, who again wore obviously an iconic dress, actress Laura Johnson and designer Giorgio Sant'Angelo, and Barbara Walters. 1986, We Are the World was topping the charts, and the Oprah Winfrey Show turned Oprah into a mega celebrity. And December the 8th, we had the dance exhibition with co-chair Pat Buckley. The sponsor this time was a cosmetic company by the name Shiseido. The blurb stating, dance is a celebration, dance is the vitality and expression that exists in all of us. Throughout history, beautiful and enticing clothes have been made for dancing, because dressing for balls and parties has been the delight of women and men since the beginning of time. The luxurious drama generated by the cut of and the exquisite fabric of a dance enhances and echoes the dance movement. Great dresses have a spirit of their own, projecting a lure into the wearer and into the evening. A dazzling fantasy is created by lace and chiffon, brocade and lame ribbons and pellets. Dance and the clothing the world chooses to dance in are responsible to the music, to the joy. They are a reflection of how the world was at a particular point in history or is today. Dance recreates the aura of time gone by in carefully mannered dignity of the minute, the joy, the languor of the waltz, the raucousness of the polka, the high energy of the turkey trot, the seductive insolence of the tango, or the boldness of the twist. Molière said that the density of nations depends on the art of dancing, and his words ring true today as one senses of the manner of ways of each generation in the dances it produces. So guests to this one included actress Bernadette Peters, actress Lena Carter, and TV host Lauren Ajersky. A little quote from an article I found from the LA Times stated, some arriving guests actually get so caught up in the fashion fanfare that they pause and do pirouettes for the paparazzi, as if them themselves were the event, which I found really interesting. This is the first case where we're really starting to see talks about the celebrity and the fashion being the event. I feel like in this day and age, when the Met Gala happens, a lot of it is we're paying attention to what the celebrities wear, and that within itself is almost the event. Whereas this is kind of the first time that we've kind of seen mention of that starting to happen, and the attitudes around the Met Gala starting to change. And then in 1987, U2 and Guns N' Roses had big music releases. Dirty Dancing was in cinemas, and The Simpsons graced our screens for the first time. And on December the 7th, we had a tribute to Diana Vreeland with co-chair Pat Buckley, and the sponsor was Reliance Group Holding. Again, I couldn't find much information on this gala. I wasn't able to find any information on UAL. I wasn't able to find kind of even any photos. The only guests that I was able to find were socialite May Hallingby and Zandra Rhodes. And then in 1988, Phantom of the Opera had just had its first show, and Home and Away premiered on TV. And then December the 5th, we had From Queen to Empress Victorian Dress, 1837 to 1877, with co-chair Pat Buckley, and the sponsor was a clothing company by the name of Leslie Fay Companies. So the blurb that I found states, this exhibition looks at fashionable dress worn in England and America during the first 40 years of Queen Victoria's reign, from when she became queen to the celebrations proclaiming her empress in India. It was a particularly rich period in costume history. The magnificent examples shown here belong to the upper and upper middle class. A fashionable trousseau was advertised in England at £100, yet only 12% of the population earned more than that in a year. Nevertheless, fashion had some influence on the dress of all but the very poorest. The aspiring middle classes closely copied all aspects of aristocratic behaviour. An increasing number of magazines became available, offering extensive advice on correct etiquette, including niceties of proper dress for each and every occasion. Guests included actress Gina Lollobrigida, filmmaker Anne Bass, and socialite Lynn Wyatt, and Nan Kemper again. And then the last gala of that decade was 1989. So Nirvana and New Kids on the Block was gaining popularity. The Game Boy fetched the arcade into the home, and Seinfeld had also gained popularity on TV as well. And then December the 4th, we had the Age of Napoleon, costume from Revolution to Empire, 1789 to 1815. Again, co-chair Pat Buckley with sponsor Wolfgang K. Flottel. The blurb I found states, Age of Napoleon, more than a mere survey of period costumes from 1789 to 1815, is a dramatic examination of the evolution of style in French dress, viewed as a cultural expression of the time. Radical changes in fashion that took place from the storming of the Bastille through the Directoire, Consulat, and the First Empire will be vividly demonstrated, as well as the influence of French style throughout Europe and in the United States. Of particular interest are the techniques evolved by craftsmen in the luxury industries of silk weaving, embroidery, and dressmaking, in spite of the damage wrought by the political excesses of the Revolution. Guests to this gala included Anna Wintour, first time I can find that she attended, fashion editor Polly Mellon, May Hallingby wearing Valentino, and fashion designer Diane von Furstenberg. And that brings us to the end of the 80s. Very quick compared to last time. Again, if you want to see the rest of the galas, the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, the 2020s, do subscribe, do follow me on my social media, is down below, and I'll see you next week for the next video.